When ABC introduced its TGIF programming block in late 1989, Full House emerged as somewhat of a flagship series for the lineup. Not only did it propel the careers of various cast members, including the Olsen twins, Mary-Kate and Ashley, but it also dominated the ratings on Fridays, a night traditionally considered a ratings abyss for networks. Some of these unfortunate and sorrowful demises may have escaped the notice of fans of the series, hence this compilation of 26 actors from Full House who have passed away since both the original series and its sequel concluded. Doris Roberts. Doris Roberts portrayed Claire Tanner in 1989 at the age of 64. Roberts's journey in acting commenced in 1951 with a role on the television series Studio One. She featured in episodes of The Naked City, 1958-1963, Way Out, 1961, Ben Casey, 1963, and The Defenders, 1962-1963. In 1961, she marked her cinematic debut in Something Wild, 1961. Roberts' theatrical career took off in the 1950s on Broadway. She graced numerous Broadway productions, including William Saroyan's The Time of Your Life, William Marchant's The Desk Set, alongside Shirley Booth, Neil Simon's The Last of the Red Hot Lovers, with James Coco and Linda Lavin, and Terrence McNally's Bad Habits. She headlined in McNally's Unusual Acts of Devotion at the La Jolla Playhouse in June 2009. Roberts passed away peacefully on April 17, 2016, at her residence in Los Angeles following a stroke at the age of 90. Luis Avalos. Luis Avalos portrayed Mr. Santana in 1989 at the age of 43. Avalos performed with the Lincoln Center Repertory Theater. His Broadway credits encompass Narrow Road to the Deep North, 1972, The Good Woman of Setsuan, 1970, Beggar on Horseback, 1970, and Camino Real, 1970. In 1972, Avalos joined the cast of the PBS children's TV show The Electric Company, notably portraying Dr. Doolots, a twist on Dr. Dolittle. He joined the series in its second season and remained until its conclusion in 1977. He shared a close bond with fellow Electric Company luminary Rita Moreno. His most memorable film role was as Ramon in the 1979 comedy Hot Stuff, starring alongside Jerry Reed, Dom DeLuise, and Suzanne Plachette. In 2000, he established the America's Theater Arts Foundation in Los Angeles to advocate for Latin American-inspired dramatic productions. Avalos passed away on January 22, 2014, due to heart failure following a heart attack. Ivonne Wilder. Ivonne Wilder portrayed Irene Katsopoulos in 1988 at the age of 51. As a youthful actress and dancer, Yvonne Othon appeared in productions featuring Imogene Coca and Carol Burnett. During her studies in London, Othon starred in a West End rendition of West Side Story and later embodied the role of Anita in the inaugural international touring company of the show. Othon's initial screen credit was as Consuelo in West Side Story, 1961. Colvin. Later in life, she pursued painting and sculpting and authored a play, Weehawken, staged in Los Angeles in 1988. Her third spouse was Bob Keljan, Robert Kaluchian. She had one son, Chris. She passed away at her residence in Los Angeles on November 24, 2021, at the age of 84. Helen Martin. Helen Martin portrayed Shirley in 1989 at the age of 80. Following her college years, Martin relocated to Chicago and subsequently New York City to engage in acting studies with the WPA Theater and the Rose McClendon Players. She played a pivotal role as a founding member of the American Negro Theater in Harlem. Martin established herself as a Broadway character actress over numerous decades, making her debut in Orchids Preferred in 1937 and subsequently in Orson Welles' staging of Native Son in 1941. During an appearance on Late Night with Conan O'Brien to promote Don't Be a Menace, Martin captivated host Conan O'Brien and the audience with her remarks. When asked about portraying a pot-smoking grandmother in the film, she exclaimed, "I adore the reefer. and humorously suggested she would have pursued a career as a stripper if not for acting, punctuating her statement with a playful dance. Martin succumbed to a heart attack on March 25, 2000, in Monterey, California, at the age of 90. Bill Wiley. Bill Wiley portrayed Jeb in 1988 at the age of 60. Hailing from Norfolk, VA, Bill attended William and Mary College. His illustrious career spanned 8 decades, encompassing stage, television, and film. On Broadway, he graced productions like Hadrian VII and was a member of the original cast of Sam Shepard's Pulitzer Prize-winning play, Buried Child. Alongside his wife, Mary Linda Phillips, Bill relocated from New York City to Los Angeles in 1980, where they both engaged in prolific work, as evidenced by his extensive credits. They raised 2 sons, Henry Phillips, comedian-musician, and Bill Phillips. He passed away on July 12, 2021, in the USA. Marsha Wallace. Marsha Wallace portrayed Mrs. Carruthers in 1993 at the age of 51. Upon her college graduation from Parsons, Wallace left Iowa for New York with $148 in hand. To make ends meet, she undertook various roles, including script typing, summer stock theater performances, commercials, and substituting as an English teacher in the Bronx during the late 1960s. Following a year of performances in a New York City Greenwich Village nightclub, Wallace co-founded an improvisational group called The Fourth Wall, with 4 fellow entertainers. In 1968, Wallace spent a year off Broadway with the group. Prior to her passing in 2013, she lent her voice to the character of the librarian in Monsters University, 2013, and posthumously appeared as herself in the film Muffin Top, A Love Story, 2014. Wallace succumbed to pneumonia and sepsis on October 25, 2013, at the age of 70. Breast cancer was also cited as a significant condition on her death certificate. Eddie Barth. Eddie Barth portrayed Lou in 1987 at the age of 56. In 38 episodes of the television series Simon and Simon between 1981 and 1989, Barth depicted Myron Fowler, the proprietor of Peerless Detectives, a competing detective agency. He also assumed the role of a police lieutenant on the Shaft series and held regular positions on Night Court, Civil Wars, and Stone. Barth gained recognition for his voiceover work in Miller Lite's advertising campaign during the 1980s. Concluding the Miller Lite television commercials, Barth delivered the slogan, "Light beer from Miller, everything you always wanted in a beer, and less." His voice talents extended to projects such as Superman, the animated series, Osmosis Jones in 2001, and the 1998 film Babe Pig in the City. Eddie Barth passed away from heart failure at his residence in Los Angeles on May 28, 2010, at 78 years old. Jack Kruschen. Jack Kruschen portrayed Yorgos Papouli Katsopoulos in 1990 at the age of 68. Kruschen commenced his career at a Los Angeles radio station at the age of 16. During World War II, he served in the Army, assigned to the Armed Forces Radio Service, AFRS. Following the war, he continued his work on network programs, including roles in Broadway Is My Beat, as Mugavin, a detective, and Pete Kelly's Blues, as club owner George Lupo, as well as frequent appearances on anthology series, westerns, and crime dramas. His final on-screen role was in the 1997 film Till There Was You as Mr. Katz. Kruschen passed away on April 2, 2002, while vacationing in Chandler, Arizona. Despite his passing on April 2nd, news of his death did not reach the media until mid-late May. He was 80 years old. Denise Dowse. Denise Dowse portrayed Mrs. Jacobs in 1993 at the age of 35. Dowse embarked on her acting career in 1989, debuting as Angela Quartermain in an episode of the television series Almost There. She later appeared in the 2005 comedy film Guess Who, starring alongside Bernie Mac and Ashton Kutcher. Dowse gained recognition for her portrayal of Yvonne Teasley on Beverly Hills 90210 and as Judge Rebecca Damson on The Guardian from 2001 to 2004. Additionally, she had a recurring role as Vice Principal McBride in the television series California Dreams from 1993 to 1994. From 2000 to 2004, Dowse lent her voice to the character Officer Shirley in the Nickelodeon animated series Rocket Power for the final 3 seasons, succeeding CCH Pounder, who voiced the character in the first season. Dowse fell into a coma in August 2022 due to meningitis and passed away on August 13, 2022, at the age of 64. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon portrayed himself in 1989 at 66 years old. McMahon rejoined Carson for The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson on October 1, 1962, on NBC. For nearly 3 decades, McMahon kicked off the show with his trademark, "Here's Johnny." His hearty laughter and constant presence alongside the king of late night earned him the monikers the Human Laugh Track and Toy Maker to the King. McMahon passed away on June 23, 2009, shortly after midnight at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles, California. He was 86 years old. His nurse, Julie Coyne, reported he passed away peacefully. Although no official cause of death was provided, McMahon's publicist attributed his passing to the numerous health issues he had faced in his final months. Esther Scott. Esther Scott portrayed Mrs. Homewood in 1994 at the age of 41. She discovered her passion for acting while attending Bronx High School of Science. Later, she relocated to California and earned a bachelor's degree in theater arts from San Francisco State University. Scott commenced her career as a voice artist on Star Wars, Ewoks, before making appearances on various television series such as Beverly Hills, 90210, Party of 5, Ellen, The Steve Harvey Show, and Sister, Sister. Scott was a regular cast member on the short-lived ABC sitcom The Geena Davis Show, 2000-2001, portraying Geena Davis's housekeeper, Gladys. Additionally, she had recurring roles on City Guys, 1998-2001, the brief series The Help, 2004, as Doris, and Heart of Dixie, 2011-2015, as Delma Warner. In the realm of cinema, she graced the screen in notable films including Boys in the Hood, 1991, The Kid, 2000, You Got Served, 2004, Dreamgirls, 2006, Gangster Squad, 2013, and The Birth of a Nation, 2016. Scott passed away on February 14, 2020, in Los Angeles, succumbing to a heart attack. Andre Rosie Brown. Andre Rosie Brown depicted Bodyguard in 1993 at the age of 37. Brown embarked on his television journey in 1985, making his debut in the police procedural series Hill Street Blues, where he portrayed a wrestler. His cinematic debut occurred in the television film The Return of Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, where he landed the role of the formidable Big Black Man in 1986. In 1998, Brown retired from his role as a police officer in the Inglewood Police Department, having served for 14 years. Following his retirement, he continued to pursue his passion for acting in both film and television. Brown concluded his acting career in 2002, making his final appearance in the film Devious Beings. On July 18, 2006, Brown passed away following a brief illness in Northridge, California, at the age of 50. Robert Arthur. Robert Arthur portrayed the minister in 1991 at the age of 65. Following his tenure in radio and service in the Navy during World War II, Arthur relocated to Hollywood. His inaugural role was as Rosalind Russell's offspring in Roughly Speaking in 1945. Subsequently, he secured a studio contract with Warner's and graced the silver screen in productions like Too Young to Know, Night and Day, and Nora Prentice. Notable among his filmography was his portrayal of Sergeant McIlhenny, providing comic relief in the 1949 war film 12 O'Clock High, and his appearance in the 1951 Billy Wilder film Ace in the Hole. Additionally, he had a stint on the 1950s television program The Lone Ranger, often cast in youthful or young adult roles. In his later years, Arthur became an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights within the senior community and was associated with the Log Cabin Republicans. He passed away in Aberdeen, Washington on October 2008 due to heart failure at the age of 83. Bert Kramer. Bert Kramer depicted Mr. Kiner in 1989 at 55 years old. He is most notably recognized for his portrayal of Alex Wheeler on the soap opera Texas, a role he held from 1980 to 1981. Kramer also assumed the same character on Texas's precursor, Another World, for a brief period in 1980. Prior to his portrayal of Alex Wheeler, he portrayed the blue-collar patriarch, Mike Fitzpatrick, in the short-lived 1977 drama series The Fitzpatricks, alongside Clark Brandon, Jimmy McNichol, and Helen Hunt. From 1984 to 1985, he inhabited the role of Brent Davis on The Young and the Restless. Additionally, he lent his voice to a goblin character in the 1992 film Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland. Kramer succumbed to melanoma in Los Angeles on June 20, 2001, at the age of 66. Sorel Book. Sorel Book portrayed Lionel in 1988 at the age of 58. He made his debut on Broadway in 1956, starring in Michael Redgrave's production of The Sleeping Prince. One notable early role was as Senator Billboard T. Rawkins in the 1960 revival of Finian's Rainbow. Book also graced the silver screen in films such as Black Like Me, A Fine Madness, What's Up, Doc, and Failsafe. He tied the knot with Miranda Knickerbocker in 1958, who was then a senior at Barnard College and the daughter of journalist Hubert Renfro Knickerbocker. They had 2 children before parting ways in 1973. On February 11, 1994, Sorel Book passed away due to colorectal cancer in Sherman Oaks, California. Richard Paul. Richard Paul portrayed Mr. Strobridge in 1988 at the age of 48. From 1977 to 1979, Paul took on the role of Mayor Teddy Burnside in Carter Country. He became known for his catchphrase, "Handle it, Roy, handle it." He also starred in the ABC comedy 1 in a Million, which aired for 1 season in 1980, and made an appearance on an episode of Mass H as Captain Bill Bainbridge. Paul was featured in the film Eating Raoul, 1982, directed by Paul Bartel. Additionally, he co-starred in the short-lived sitcom Herbie, the Love Bug in 1982. He later appeared in Bartel's short film The Secret Cinema, part of the Amazing Stories series on television, and in Bartel's Not for Publication. Paul exchanged vows with Patty Osterreich on September 7, 1968, in Pasadena, California, and they remained happily married until his passing. Paul succumbed to cancer at the age of 58 on December 25, 1998, at his residence in the Studio City area of Los Angeles, Mary Pat Gleason. Mary Pat Gleason portrayed Jennifer Siansky in 1987 at the age of 37. Her screen debut occurred in 1982 with an appearance on Texas, an NBC soap opera. Among her final roles, she lent her voice to the character Professor Foxtrot in College Humor's animated web series WTF 101. Beyond acting, Gleason also contributed as a writer for Guiding Light, being part of the team that secured the 1986 Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Daytime Drama Series Writing Health Treatment. In 2006, she penned and starred in Stopping Traffic, a one-woman play shedding light on her battles with bipolar disorder. The production is now utilized as an educational tool for the Mayo Clinic's mental health programs. Gleason passed away from cancer on June 2, 2020, at the age of 70. Max Alexander. Max Alexander took on the role of Dr. Reuben Winiger in 1989 when he was 36 years old. Alongside his stand-up comedy career, Alexander made supporting appearances on numerous sitcoms like Full House and other series such as Matlock. His filmography includes supporting roles alongside notable stars like Tom Hanks, Steve Martin, Jim Carrey, and Jason Segel in films like Roxanne, 1987, Punchline, 1988, and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. His stand-up routines often centered around his significant size, frequently incorporating humor about his weight and pulling his pants up to his chest during performances. In 2008, Alexander was admitted to the hospital due to a kidney ailment and required a transplant for survival, with his brother Rabbi Moshe Drelich serving as the donor. Unfortunately, a few weeks after the transplant, Alexander suffered a stroke. He passed away on November 2, 2016, from a type of throat cancer, at the age of 63. Carl Wilson. Carl Wilson portrayed Carl Wilson in 1988 at the age of 42. Reflecting on his early years in 1982, Carl recalled, "The kid across the street, David Marks, was taking guitar lessons from John Mouse, so I started too. David and I were about 12, and John was only 3 years older, but we thought he was a great guitarist." Wilson's lead vocals and songwriting were prominently featured on the Beach Boys' 1985 self-titled album, showcasing hits like It's Gettin' Late, another top 20 adult contemporary hit, and The Heaven like Where I Belong. Wilson passed away from lung cancer in Los Angeles, surrounded by his family, on February 6, 1998. His passing came just 2 months after his mother, Audrey Wilson, passed away. Lois Nettleton. Lois Nettleton portrayed Nedra Donaldson in 1991 at the age of 64. Nettleton's early roles included playing Patsy in the soap opera The Brighter Day. In 1987, she took on the role of Penny Vanderhoff Sycamore in the television series adaptation of the Kaufman and Hart comedy play You Can't Take It With You alongside Harry Morgan and Richard Sanders. Nettleton also made appearances on episodes of the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. Later in her career, she lent her voice to characters like Athena in Herc's Adventures and Maleficent in House of Mouse and Mickey's House of Villains. Nettleton was the inaugural caller to Gene Shepard's late-night radio show on WOR, later becoming his third spouse. Familiar to the audience as The Listener, they tied the knot on December 3, 1960, in Tarrytown, New York, but divorced in 1967. She passed away on January 18, 2008, in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 80 due to a brain tumor. Annette Funicello. Annette Funicello portrayed herself in 1991 at the age of 49. Funicello underwent dancing and music lessons during her childhood to overcome her shyness. In 1955, at the age of 12, she was discovered by Walt Disney while performing as the Swan Queen in Swan Lake at a dance recital at the Starlight Bowl in Burbank, California. Funicello's final public appearance was on September 13, 1998, at a Multiple Sclerosis Society event in California alongside Frankie Avalon. Around early 1987, when she was approximately 45 years old, Funicello reunited with Frankie Avalon for a series of promotional concerts to support their film Back to the Beach. On April 8, 2013, Funicello passed away at the age of 70 at Mercy Southwest Hospital in Bakersfield, California, due to complications related to multiple sclerosis. James Hampton. James Hampton portrayed Mr. Malatesta in 1989 at the age of 53. After his military service, he performed in summer stock in Texas before relocating to New York City, where he landed his first film role in the Academy Award-nominated short subject The Cliff Dwellers. His subsequent role was as the lead character in a May 1963 Gunsmoke episode titled Jeb, alongside his friend and series regular Burt Reynolds. In 1980, he starred with Gary Collins in the low-budget film Hangar 18. In 2012, Hampton appeared in a commercial on MeTV highlighting some of the shows in which he had guest starred, such as Gomer Pyle, USMC, and The Rockford Files. Hampton tied the knot with actress Mary Dees in 2002 and was the father of 3 children, James, Andrea, and Frank. He passed away from complications of Parkinson's disease on April 7, 2021, at his residence in Fort Worth, Texas, at the age of 84. Michelle Nicastro. Michelle Nicastro portrayed Roxana in 1987 at the age of 27. She lent her voice to the character of the adult Princess Odette, the central figure in The Swan Princess, and its initial two follow-ups, The Swan Princess, Escape from Castle Mountain and The Swan, Princess III, The Mystery of the Enchanted Treasure. On Broadway, she originated the role of Ariadne in the 1983 musical Merlin. Nicastro was the inaugural Eponine in the second nationwide tour of Les Miserables in 1988. She recorded 4 albums released under the Varese Sarabande label, featuring Paul Goldberg on drums and percussion, Walt Fowler on trumpet, Jimmy Hoff on bass, and Lanny Myers. Nicastro passed away on November 4, 2010, at her residence, surrounded by her loved ones. She was 50 years old. Phyllis Diller. Phyllis Diller portrayed herself in 1988 at the age of 71. Diller started her career as the women's editor at a small newspaper and worked as an advertising copywriter for a department store in Oakland. Despite retiring from the stand-up comedy scene, Diller remained active in the entertainment field. In 2005, she appeared among numerous contemporary comedians in The Aristocrats. Diller, known for her clean comedy style, performed a rendition of a vintage, suggestive vaudeville routine, humorously recounting her reaction to hearing the joke for the first time. Diller passed away at her residence in the Brentwood area of Los Angeles on August 20, 2012, at the age of 95, due to heart failure. Vera Lockwood. Vera Lockwood portrayed Gina Yaya Katsopoulos in 1990 at the age of 73. Born on May 25, 1917 in Bristol, Connecticut, USA, Lockwood was an actress recognized for her roles in Aladdin, 1992, Out for Justice, 1991, and Rumpelstiltskin, 1995. She was wedded to Lester Lockwood. Lockwood passed away on July 28, 2000, in North Bergen, New Jersey, USA. Biff Manard. Biff Manard acted as Cowpoke in 1995 at 52 years of age. Born either in 1939 or 1943, depending on various sources, Manard appeared in numerous films and made guest appearances on popular television series over many decades. He notably portrayed Officer Michael Francis Murphy on The Flash, but gained recognition for his portrayal of Hap Ashby in the modestly budgeted science fiction adventure Trancers, where he played a former baseball player targeted by a psychic assassin from the future. He reprised this role in Trancers 2 and in 1985 reunited with co-stars Art LaFleur and Tim Thomerson for The Zone Troopers. Manard passed away in 2014 in Las Vegas at the age of 71 following a prolonged illness. Bob Saget. Bob Saget portrayed Danny Tanner in 1987 at the age of 31. After a brief period as part of CBS's The Morning program in early 1987, Saget was chosen to play Danny Tanner in Full House, which became a hit with family audiences, consistently ranking in the Nielsen ratings top 30 starting from season 3. In 1989, Saget took on the role of host for America's Funniest Home Videos, a position he held until 1997. Throughout the early 1990s, Saget juggled his duties on both Full House and AFV. In 2009, he made a comeback to AFV for the 20th anniversary one-hour special co-hosted with Tom Bergeron. Around 4 p.m. ET on January 9, 2022, Saget was discovered deceased in his suite at a Ritz-Carlton hotel near Williamsburg in Orange County, Florida. At the time, Saget was on a stand-up comedy tour and had performed in Ponte Vedra Beach the night before. An autopsy report published on February 9th revealed that Saget had sustained blunt head trauma from an inadvertent blow to the back of his head, likely from a fall, resulting in his demise while he slept. We trust you find solace in revisiting their unforgettable acts and the happiness they bestowed upon us. Gratitude for being with us today. Until we meet again, stay well and honor their legacies. Goodbye, and see you next time.